generator log at Cape Bauld was logged in 5-minute increments, which is standard procedure when the primary diesel kicks over to secondary during a Strait of Belle Isle gale. When the Canadian Coast Guard relief crew finally got through the pressure ridge on March 4th, my shift relief, a man named Arthur Mercer, who had spent 19 winters on the northern peninsula, was not in the quarters. The secondary generator had run out of fuel 48 hours prior. Every window on the seaward elevation was coated in 3 inches of clear rime ice from the inside out. The winter of that year was not unusually cold, according to Environment Canada records for St. Anthony. It was wet and fluctuating around -6, which creates grease ice in the shallows before the main pack comes down from Labrador. Mercer had clocked his shift rotation on February 12th. His first 7 log entries are entirely administrative. Battery bank voltages, fuel transfers from the bulk tanks, and radio checks with the Marine Communications and Traffic Services Center in St. Anthony. The first deviation happened on February 18th at roughly 0340. Mercer made a note in the ledger margin beside the hourly fog signal reading. The nautiphone horn was firing its regular 2-blast cycle every 60 seconds. But Mercer wrote that the automated light beam was dead-ending 30 yards out from the lantern room. He noted that fog over open water usually diffuses light into a wide yellow halo. This particular bank was not refracting the 3 million candle power beam at all. It was absorbing it. He described it as a clean sheer wall of white vapor sitting just above the surf line, completely motionless despite a sustained 25-knot westerly wind. By noon the following day, the sea ice had begun behaving in a way that defied every standard Canadian hydrographic service chart for that quadrant. The prevailing currents in the strait carry, drifting, flows south-southeast toward Hare Bay. Instead, the ice along the point was anchoring itself against the tide. Slush was flash freezing into tall, vertical pressure slabs against the granite shoals, creating a continuous wall across the slipway where the station's rigid hull inflatable was dry docked. Mercer didn't call in a mayday because there was no technical failure to report. The transmitter worked, the heat was running, and he had 3 months of dry rations in the pantry. He made a scheduled check-in on VHF channel 16 at 16:00, stating only that local pack ice was stacking heavily and that he might need the CCGS Henry Larson to break the cove open when shift change came around in 2 weeks. His voice on the archived recording is level, quiet, and completely calm. 2 days later, the ledger entries became shorter. On February 21st, Mercer attempted to hike the access trail that leads inland toward the automated weather station and the gravel access road to Quirpon. The trail crosses a low plateau of stunted spruce. Mercer wrote that he walked for 2 hours with a handheld GPS before realizing the trail's natural drainage ditch was completely dammed by sheer vertical ridges of needle ice that had forced their way up through the muskeg. Not blown snow, solid, dense blue freshwater ice, rising directly out of the frozen ground in straight lines, blocking every gully leading off the headland. When he turned back, the same ice was forming behind his boot tracks. His final full entry is dated February 24th. The handwriting is clean, using the standard blue ballpoint issued by fisheries and oceans. He wrote that the sound wasn't wind. He stated that the fog had settled directly against the exterior brickwork of the tower, and that every time the compressor fired for the horn, the sound didn't travel outward over the water. It echoed backward down the lantern gallery, vibrating through the cast iron spiral staircase. He wrote that he could see the shoreline shrinking by 20 feet every 6 hours as the ice continued to build upward toward the foundation, not like pack ice pushed by surf, but like a poured concrete footing curring in place. When the recovery team reached the point 10 days later, they had to use demolition saws to cut through an uninterrupted mound of solid, clear ice that had formed a complete dome over the lantern housing and the upper 2 floors of the brick tower. The structure itself had sustained massive compressive damage, with the external iron railings sheared clean off at the weld points. The emergency rations were untouched. Mercer's cold weather parka, boots, and personal safety locator beacon were hanging neatly on the peg by the galley door. The official report filed with Transport Canada concluded that an unprecedented combination of salt spray, localized freeze-thaw cycles, and a microclimate temperature inversion caused catastrophic structural icing, leading to the presumed loss of the keeper during an unlogged exterior inspection. They never found any trace of him on the headland or in the waters below the cliff. But the team did document one detail that never made it into the public inquiry summary. The lantern room's inner bronze deadbolt was turned from the inside, and all 5 spare keys from the office board were lined up on the logbook desk, frozen into a block of clear ice alongside Mercer's wristwatch, which had stopped at exactly 03:47.